Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom, Mevorach. It is so nice to welcome Shabbat in community, to welcome Shabbat together. This very special Shabbat that comes after Passover, this very special Shabbat that comes immediately after Yom HaShoah, the Memorial Day for the Holocaust in Israel, that we also, of course, acknowledge here in the United States. The Shabbat is called Shabbat Tkuma, the Shabbat of the Renaissance in Israel. Why? Because it's the Shabbat between the memory and the horror of the Shoah and the joy of Yom Ha'atzmaut, of Independence Day in the state of Israel. It's the Shabbat between the nightmare and the concretion of a dream. And trying to hold these two truths together is that we enter this very special Shabbat for the Jewish people all over the world. I invite you to try to create a space, a moment of prayer, of connection, so we can, all of us together, welcome Shabbat. We hope that here from TBT we'll be able to open this sanctuary all the way to your living room, to wherever you are sitting. We invite you to prepare your Shabbat candles, your Kiddush cup, so we together can greet Shabbat, greet the Shabbos Queen. We're on page 120.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Good Shabbos. We will now turn our Siddurim to page 130. Lechu neranena l'Adonai. Let's go to the encounter, to the meeting with the Divine. Let's welcome Shabbat together. We're on page 130. מלאכת אל הארץ, ישמחו איהים רבים. אור שרו על הצדיק ולשרי לב שמחה. A light is shown to the righteous and for those that are seekers of truth. מזמור שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, כי נפלאות עשה. We sing a psalm that invites us to search after wonders in the world, but what Shabbat really invites us to do, to become seekers of the wonders in our lives, in our routines, to observe, to recognize the wonders that we have in our lives as real treasures, and to detain ourselves, to stop ourselves for a moment, to enjoy, to fill our spirits, to fill our souls with their majestic presence. As we try to become mindful of welcoming Shabbat, as we try to transform this Friday night into an Erev Shabbat, into an evening of Shabbat, think of the things that we need to leave behind, the things that we shouldn't carry. You cannot hear us, Miriam. The sound is not working. Okay. I think the friends are working on that. We'll give one more moment to that. Having some technical problem. It looks like it is about to be resolved. It's now working? No. They might be bringing different microphones to us if they are not being able to fix it quickly. Can you hear us now?
Hello?
No, at all. Okay.
No. Also, for some reason, our video is super choppy. Okay.
So we are having some technical difficulty. We are giving a minute to our technical people to resolve it. I don't know if you can hear us or not. No. Stay with us. Take one more moment. Miles? What? Okay. Okay. We'll try to do something else now. Can you hear us? Can you hear us now? Well, that's the sound of my computer holding TVT's live stream right now. So let's see how that works. For now, we are going to be working, and I have here right now. I don't know how to do original sound because
You have to go in here. Can I? I know exactly where to go.
Yeah, but this is a. No, because that's no. This is a Chromebook. Doesn't work that way.
So it doesn't have.
No. Okay, so we'll get. So here we are, and hopefully in a few moments we might be able to move into the different or real sound settings. In the meantime, we invite you to turn your Siddurim to page 134.
זמרו לאדוני בכינור, בכינור בקול זמרה, בחצוצרות בקול שופר, הריעו מלך אדוני.
לשפוט הארץ, לשפוט דבר וצדק, ועמים במישרים. גם יבוא לו דבר Return our theory now to page 136 for Mizmor LeDavid, Psalm 29.
מזמור לדוד, הבו לאדוני בנהלים. מזמור לדוד, הבו לאדוני כבוד בעוז. מזמור לדוד,
looks like. We might be able now to speak with our normal
Can you
microphones.
hear us?
Here we are back.
It's a Shabbat miracle.
And now we're going to turn off this terrible camera. Don't want to see this anymore. And we're going to go back to normality.
At least you know it's live, not
Now,
pre-recorded.
now you totally know that. So, going now, trying to recover after experiencing some disconnection, right? But that's what life is. Like, you are connected, disconnected. You work all the time trying to find yourself to be connected. We'll talk about that as we talk about this week later on, and we share some words of Torah. We will now turn our Sidurim to pages 138, 139 for Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela Shamor v'zachor v'dibur v'chai ishmianu el ha'meyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem u'letiferet elitila Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela
לקראת שבת, לכו ונלכה, היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם, מהסוכה, סוף מעשה
השבת תיראה
lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה,
בני שבת nekabela התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי 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 שתדברי כבוד אדוני עלייך ניגש
lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה,
בני שבת nekabela
לא תבושי ולא תיכלמי, מה תשתוכחי, מה תהני, בך יחסו עניי ימי, והנים נדע, lecha Dodi,
לקראת כלה בני שבת nekabela בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה
lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, בני שבת nekabela. As we have welcomed the Shabbos Queen, we take a moment to welcome each other, to acknowledge each other's presence. We say Shabbat Shalom to each other. Shabbat Shalom to those that are joining us in Zoom. It's wonderful to see your faces, and it's nice to know that now you can hear us well. And so, is that right still? That's still right. Not anymore. Yes? No. Come back and forth. Okay? Our people are trying to work on that apparently.
What does this mean? Does this mean stop?
What? So,
Well, this, like, the video is really jittery too, so they must be related.
so we appreciate your being here and joining us. And our people are trying to fix that. In the meantime, we want to acknowledge also those that are here, and Andy, Andrew, Gabriel, Zach, and Miles that are making sure that we'll make it through this challenging streaming in this Erev Shabbat. And we'll talk about that later, but one of the aspects of the Sfirat HaOmer, can you hear me? Me? No?
Well, they said it's choppy, so they might be getting like
No,
every
I will open my
other-
computer. We're going to go with that sound. We can talk to each. You think that's worse? So we need some. So no, we need to. He'll need to think about that alone. So it's just Zoom. Okay. So we're gonna do. Zoomers, give me 1 more second. We have one more device here.
Kangaroos and popsicles. I don't understand.
Jumping.
Oh, okay.
1 more second. 1 second. My phone has more good sound. Allow me in, please.
Jumping and freezing. Got it.
Can you hear us now? Please allow me to use my sound. Can you hear me now? You can hear us well now?
Oh, then we're gonna have to mute.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So we hope you can hear us. We'll try now to use my phone as a microphone. Try to use my phone as a microphone, and we'll go with this in Zoom. At least in Zoom. No? You need to
Oh, wait, unmute. We got it. We unmuted your phone.
can you hear us now?
Hello?
Okay, we're gonna go with that sound. It's okay. We're doing it.
Okay. Just, okay.
Okay, we're gonna go with that sound, and that should be okay. Okay, so let's sing to Shabbat one more song, Psalm 92. But before we go into that, I want to share something about Sfirat HaOmer. We'll be talking about Sfirat HaOmer later. About Sfirat HaOmer, in the Kabbalistic sense, and I'm not going to be talking about this specific end of the counting of the Omer, but Sfirat HaOmer is about going with the flow. Not going with the flow because, yeah. Why? Because the 10 Sfirot, these 10 divine attributes that are somehow connected with the counting of the Omer, they are supposed to be vessels that help us somehow allow the divine light be present in the world and be present in our lives. So part of the idea of the work that we do during Sfirat HaOmer is about dealing with life circumstances with the best attributes that you can offer to those circumstances. Life circumstances are unexpected and are uncertain, but the divine attributes are to some extent a constant in the world. So the challenge of this time of the year and the challenge of this specific minute in our lives is to master those attributes and to try to allow the light of this moment, this time, this Shabbat, come through us. We're on page 140, Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat.
All
עליון, טוב להודות לאדוני,
ולהגיד בבוקר חסדך, ולהגיד בבוקר חסדך, אמונתך בלילות, אמונתך בלילות, טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ולהגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, אמונתך בלילות, טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ולהגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, אמונתך בלילות, טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ולהגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, אמונתך בלילות, טוב להודות לאדוני. בית קדש אמר רבעה, ועלמד ימלך חירותי וימליך מלכותי וחייכון. page 146, ברכו. ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך, לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בדברו מלא ברבים, בחוכמה פותח שרים ובתבונה משנה עתים ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסייע את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו, וליום בלילה וללילה מפני חושך, חושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומהביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, חי בקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המהרי ורחבים, עבדת לו בית ישראל עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. Everlasting love you offer to your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lay down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night, we will reflect on them. כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו, ובהם נגד יומם בלילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. Take a moment now to think about love, to think about what makes us individually, personally feel connected. And as we acknowledge all the things that sometimes interfere our routines, the things that sometimes challenge us. We also acknowledge that they are not who we are. They might be what's happening to us. So as we get closer to the Shema, as we stand to recite Shema, I invite you to put them aside, take a deep breath, and to join us for Shema on page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Eloheinu. We continue on page 154. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם
אמת באמונה כל סוד וקיים עלינו, כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואין זולתו, ואנחנו ישראל עמו. ראו בניו גבורתו, שכו ודעו לשמו ומלכותו ורצון קיבלו עליהם. When your children witness your presence, they praise your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moshe, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices with joy. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, who is like you, O God. We are on page 158 for Mi chamocha. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, נורא תהילות אוסף פלא, נורא תהילות אוסף פלא. איי מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, עשה לי אנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. נאמר כי אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own, from a challenge, an obstacle that seemed to be absolutely impossible, and still was possible. Praise are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Israel.
Amen.
We turn our Sidurim to page 160 for Ashkiveinu.
ושמור צאתנו ופרוס עלינו
Continue with the silent reading of תפילת עמידה. לא. אתה כיוון ללמה? יש ניוש? Bueno, we're at the bottom of page 180. יהיו לרצון עם רפי, והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. יעשה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל. אמרו אמן. We will now turn our Sidurim to page 371. We take a moment to acknowledge those that are dealing with illness. We think of those dealing with illness in their bodies. We think of those dealing with illness in their souls. So we think of those dealing with addictions. We're on page 371 from Mishaberach. wish to all of them, to all of you, to all of us, רפואה שלמה והחלמה מהירה, complete and a fast recovery. And let us say,
Amen.
okay, Shabbat Shalom, friends, and I hope that you can by now hear us well. Is that, we're gonna look at our Zoomers now for a second. Is that true now? I hope it is true. What? It looks through. People are saying yes, they can hear as well. Probably they're on YouTube. So I'll stop looking at this camera and I will move into that one. Who knew that we were going to be dealing with cameras and sound so much? So even though it's been challenging, we are very grateful for the technology that allows us to come together. And of course, for those that are operating the technology, and they are doing it exactly as every single week, and for some reason today, things are not working as usual. So we are grateful for your work too, my friends. Okay. As I said a few minutes ago, we are going to talk about the counting of the Omer. Now, counting of the Omer in general terms are the 49 days that are counted between the second day of Passover and the day before Shavuot, because then the 50th day is Shavuot, and then we are kind of in a different dimension. And in order to start approaching the idea of the counting of the Omer, I want for you to imagine or to see for a moment an image that I saw many times in cartoons when I was growing up, which is this image of the character running away from some place. Let's imagine a building running, up the stairs in a building and being chased by the enemies, and all of a sudden realizing that the only way out is through the window, and then runs through the window, and then there's an image in which everything gets stopped for a second. He looks around, he looks up, he looks down, and there is nothing down. And then he finds himself in a free fall, which ends up being tragic. Now, that's the counting of the Omer. Well, I just explained, that's the counting of the Omer. Let me try to contextualize that for you. I'm not kidding. That's exactly the counting of the Omer. I want to explain to you why. Pesach, Passover, the holiday of freedom, the holiday of liberation. So we were able to set ourselves in motion. We were able to run away from an unhealthy place. We are experiencing liberation. Thank you. We are experiencing liberation. Now, there's a huge gap between liberation and redemption. And all of a sudden, we crossed the Red Sea, and now what? It's like you made an important decision in your life. You feel confident that it's the right thing to do, but then you find yourself in the middle of nowhere. So you're not in a bad place or in a harmful place anymore. But that doesn't mean that the new reality is not going to be harmful either. Now you are literally nowhere. So you have liberation, but not redemption yet. Says the Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim, in the Guide for the Perplexed. I want to make a direct citation. The Feast of the Weeks is the anniversary of the revelation at Mount Sinai. The Feast of the Weeks is Shavuot. In order to raise the importance of this day, we count the days that pass since the preceding festival, just as one expects his most intimate friend on a certain day counts the days and even the hours. This is the reason why we count the days that pass since the offering of the Omer, since the offering of the Omer between the anniversary of our departure, and he says departure, from Egypt, and the anniversary of Lo giving. The later law giving was the aim and object of the Exodus from Egypt. And thus, God said, I brought you unto myself. Now, what the Rambam is saying is that the Omer is coming to bridge the gap between two very important events. One, which is the event of liberation, the event in which we left a harmful place, a narrow place, Mitzrayim, and then the time that it takes us to get to a place in which we are ready to experience redemption. That happens at the moment that we enter the covenant. Now, he speaks about the anxiety between these two events, right? If we live from event to event, it means that we live in a future that is uncertain, but we are not living in the present. The counting of the Omer is the tool we use in order to connect with our present experience. So we left Egypt. We left a harmful place. We are not in the next chapter. We're on our way somewhere. The Omer is in order for us to be mindful of the way. It's in order for us to be mindful of having some soil, some earth under our feet. Now, Jewish mysticians, they are called mikuvalim, trying to somehow explain the meaning of the counting of the Omer. They made a direct connection between the Omer, the counting of the Omer, and the Sfirot. Now, what are the Sfirot? Kabbalah says that there are 10 dimensions in which the world was created. 10 divine dimensions. And this is often translated as Sferot, as spheres. But they are not spheres, and they are also drawn as spheres. I will show you a graphic now. They are drawn as spheres. But Sfirot means countings. Now, there are 3 upper Sfirot and 7 lower Sfirot. Just a technicality that I want to explain to you before I do show you a graphic. And it's that for each week of the Omer, we use one of the lower Sfirot as symbols and ideas of things that we can think about. But before we go to the 7 lower Sfirot, I want to talk about what happens with the 3 upper Sfirot. Can we share the graphic I have? Okay, we're not going to share. Please work on that. It's in the streaming email. So, the 3 upper Sfirot, whether we have the graphic or not, I'll try to make it as graphic as I can. So the 3 upper Sfirot, they are, I do have the graphic for myself. On the right side, Chokhmah, wisdom. On the left side, Binah. Binah means understanding. And in the middle between the two of them, Dat. Dat means in modern Hebrew is translated as De'ah, as opinion, but that means knowledge. What you know, what you learn. I'll try to explain. And there's one more Sfirah that appears in many graphics that you will see, or maybe in the graphic that you are seeing right now, I don't know. It's on there. So there's another Sfirah in the middle that you see, and it's called Keter. Keter means crown. That one doesn't count. The reason that one doesn't count is because it belongs to the realm of the Ein Sof, the infinite. So it's invisible to humans, according to the Kabbalistic idea. And the origin of these ideas is in a book called Sefer Yetzirah, the book of creation, which is attributed to Abraham. We do know that he didn't write it. The attribution is a rabbinical technique to give importance to what they wrote, but it's pretty much parallel to the time of the Mishnah. So it's more than 2,000 years old, the text. So Chokhmah, wisdom. In the Kabbalistic tradition, this first attribute is about being able to react, gut reaction, to understand and experience what's right and wrong and set yourself in motion. It's about being emotional, and it's in our right side. Now, setting ourselves in motion and being emotional, it's sometimes what you need in order to leave a wrong place and move for somewhere else. But what can we do? It's not enough to be able to move. You need to think. You need to process. And therefore, the attribute that is next to Chokhmah, once again, is understanding, which is our ability to think about things. Now, the tradition says that if you move only with your instincts and without thinking, it's not good enough. And if you are only thinking and not moving, do you know anyone, have anyone in your life that only thinks about things? You might know it about yourself and have great ideas, great understandings about the world, great conclusions, but you go nowhere. Well, that's the understanding that lacks chokhmah, wisdom. That's the understanding, the binah, that lacks the ability to move, the emotion. So these are the two energies that somehow lead this motion, and between the two of them, there is that. This idea of transforming these two motions, the static motion of understanding and the motion of actually emotion, into knowledge, into something that can be used. Now, the tradition speaks about these 7 channels, lower channels, that somehow reflect the divine light. And as I was trying to say a few minutes earlier, there are many things in our journeys that are unexpected. Now, we leave one place, we move away from one place, and we are on our way to other place. But you need to walk the walk. And as we walk the walk, there are things that will appear and we will need to deal with. There are things in our routine that emerge and require from us, they are new to us, they are unexpected to us, and require from us to be able to deal with them. And in the Omer, we think about these 7 attributes. So I'd love to quickly share them with you. There are books written about each of them. So I'll just give you a few words about each, a few perspectives. So the first one is chesed. Chesed means loving kindness. Now, the attribute of chesed, the attribute of loving kindness, is about being able to open our hearts. So we come from a narrow place, Mitzrayim. What does it mean for us when we are dealing with uncertainty to open our hearts as opposed to close ourselves? And to think of things from that perspective. How often do you stop when you are dealing with a challenge and say to yourself, what it would mean for me now if I would look at this through the lens of loving kindness? What it would mean for this situation if I could right now open my heart to what I'm dealing with. Now, next to the attribute of chesed, there is gevurah, the softness of loving kindness, and the harshness of courage, gevurah. Now, the word gevurah is very masculine. The word gever is male in Hebrew. They are intrinsically connected. Now, we are not talking about gender, we are talking about different sources of energy, different types of energy that we all have. Now, an interesting thing about gevurah is that it is often called din, judgment, which is usually attributed to female energy. But the gevurah is also the ability to say no, to set boundaries. What it would mean for us to say no, to say this doesn't belong. This is not right for me right now. Here I will separate myself. Now, between the two of them, there is tiferet. What's tiferet? Tiferet is, we think that in several of our players is glory. And it's the ability to celebrate and to bring these two attributes together, to find the beauty of dealing with life circumstances through the lens of opening our hearts and also finding the courage to look at these circumstances and also having the ability to say no. 4 more. We are almost there. You see in the area of the right hand, netzach. The meaning of netzach is eternity, or lenatzeach means winning. And it's I think the idea of netzach, the eternity and winning, I think is related to the concept of that we sometimes use when we think about organizations, when we say that it's not a 100-meter race, it is rather a marathon. To think about length, to think about the persistence that we need in order to find wings in our journey, to overcome challenges. The other side is splendor, od. Put it very simply, ego, our ego. There's a little ego that often we try to put aside because we try to be humble, and being humble is a very important attribute. On the other hand, if we don't feed our ego a little bit, we disappear. Every single one of us has an ego that needs to be fed. Carefully, but fed. And there's space for that. There's a space for our ego. And to think about different circumstances in which we might be dealing with challenges or with opportunities without giving space to our ego, or maybe giving all the space to our ego, and that might be too much. And if you are giving all the space to your ego, which is very connected to our God, it might be an opportunity to combine ego with other attributes, with netzach. So it's less instant, more about giving time to the process. The 6th one is yesod. Yesod means foundation. Now, it's not by coincidence in the human image that you are seeing. It's not by coincidence set close to the genitals. Why? Because the soul is connected with the idea of creation, of foundations. Of course, the Kabbalah is somehow mimicking the attributes with or setting the attributes next to the idea of reproduction, but to some extent, the yetzer, the energy that motivates us to bring our own creations into the world. The need that every single one of us has to be creative, to be a creator, to bring and to say and to transform. Let's go to the seventh one. The seventh one is Malchut, kingship. Do you see above Geburah v'Chesed? In some graphics it's said in the highest area, and some graphics is said under Yesod. Malchut, kingship, is exactly this idea of the flow, this idea of understanding that the world and life circumstances are bigger than the moment in which you are experiencing a challenge with the sound, are bigger than the Zoom that is not working, are bigger than the frustration that we are experiencing, and also are bigger than the joy that we are experiencing. Happiness, simcha, happens in the bigger picture, not in the instant. Malchut is about having the ability to see ourselves enlarged rather than diminished by our life circumstances. I think you had enough information and it was confusing enough. And what I would recommend now that there's a tablet magazine this year podcast that focuses on the counting of the Omer from the Sfirot perspective. I don't remember the name, but you can find it later. But the main point of understanding the idea of the Sfirot in the context of the counting of the Omer is that as we are dealing with uncertainty, there are many things that we do know about the world. There are many energies and many attributes that we can find within ourselves, and they can help us deal with difficult times, challenging times, and also with joyful times. During the 7 weeks that connect between Pesach and Shabbat, between liberation and redemption, our enterprise is to cultivate well-being. The counting of the Omer is about cultivating well-being. It's about being present in this moment, not in the next step, not in Shavuot, not in the walk throughout the desert, in this moment. Jewish mindfulness, friends. Cultivating well-being right now. Understanding that receiving the legacy of Torah requires from us not only motion, chokhmah, and deep understanding, bina, but also that, the ability to bring those energies together and transform them in knowledge. Knowledge about the world, maybe most importantly, knowledge about ourselves, about who we are, about our own journey. It requires from us to become a fertile soil and to deeply connect with the divine attributes of our humanity. The divine attributes of our humanity. So we can experience redemption and growth. And ultimately, it's telling us that big changes in life can't start with milestone events, but rather for them to become a reality. In order for the liberation from Egypt, from that motion to become a reality, there is work that needs to be done day by day, and that's why you count. Every single day is a challenge between leaving Egypt and making it to Sinai. And it doesn't end on Sinai. We'll talk about that later. But every single day of the counting of the Omer is a challenge. It's a beautiful challenge. Because there's one more thing I want to ask before we conclude. I will make a quick cut. So once again, why are we counting the Omer? Hope that by now you have an idea, at least from the mystical perspective. We're counting the Omer because after making meaningful decisions, and sometimes even stepping away from harmful places, we don't want to find ourselves in a free fall or taken by the anxiety of what comes next. We are counting the Omer because this is how we cultivate well-being in this moment, and so we can set the foundations for growth. In this set of Shabbat, I want to wish all of us a meaningful counting. As we count the Omer, as you count the Omer, we might think that we count, that our journey counts, that our walk counts, that those that are experiencing liberation and anxiety, we are those. I wish all of us the ability to dedicate this time to ourselves, to reflection. And I pray that each of us will find a path to cultivate well-being and, God willing, experience growth. Shabbat Shalom umevorach. We will continue our service on page 588, the path to return starts from within our hearts. And so does the counting. The counting starts from within our hearts. Page 570. Inneni muchanum zoman, Inneni muchanum zoman, Inneni muchanum zoman, לקיים את מצוות עשה. Inneni muchanum zoman, Inneni muchanum zoman, Inneni muchanum zoman, לקיים את מצוות עשה. Inneni muchanum מסומן, לקיים מצוות עשה של ספירת העומר. I am ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting of the Homer. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו בציוונו על ספירת ההומר. We thank Adonai our God for the mitzvah of counting the Homer and for the mitzvah of being mindful of our lives and cultivating well-being. היום, יום 14 שם, שני שבועות, בסירו ימין של ספירת ההומר. Today is the 14th day, which makes the second week of the counting of the Homer. We'll now turn our series to page 598 as we acknowledge mourners among our community. We invite those that are remembering a dear one, to share the names of those that you are remembering, where you are in YouTube or Facebook, to do that, and for us later on to be able to see those that you brought, the memories of those that you brought to this space. And of course, if you are connecting with us in Zoom, to share them in real time, letting us know if you are acknowledging the first 7 days of morning Shiva, the first 30 days of morning Shloshim, the cycle of the first year of mourning, or if you have a yortzeit, the anniversary of someone passing by this time of the year in years past. Mark Silverstein is remembering Rita Silverstein, his mother, and Arnold Londo and Shim Domitz, his cousins. Philip Newman is remembering Randy Sostok. Now you can support our fellows by standing or sitting. Join us with your voices or your hearts for Kaddish Avelim, Mourners Kaddish, on page 598. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
בעלמה דברה חילותה וימליך מלכותה, וחייכון וביומכון, וחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל. שמי דקודשה.
ברכו.
לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה ושבחתה ונחמתה תמירם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יש לה מרבה מן שמיה, וחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו,
אמן.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו, אמן. May the memories of your beloved ones be always a blessing. יהיה זכרם ברוך. We'll now say Kiddush, and as we take the Kiddush cup, I want to share with you that we had a beautiful gathering for those that weren't able to participate, and I think it was very meaningful this week for Yom HaShoah. We are very grateful for all those that participated, where you connected with us through Zoom or you were here in person. And we hope as years go by to increase, even to have more participation as we come together to remember Yom HaShoah, and we do the work that is needed in order to assure that the memory of the Shoah remains a part of our collective memory. Next Friday, we will be celebrating Shabbat Atzmaut, Yom Atzmaut, the Independence Shabbat. So we will be starting our service with a moment that we will dedicate to Yom HaZikaron, to the Memorial Day in Israel. And from there, we will transition into Kabbalat Shabbat. We encourage all of you to join us. Of course, if you are one of our remote. If you are in Florida, fine, be in Zoom. If you are in, in Washington or in Northern California or New York, be in Zoom. But if you are not in one of those places, we'd love for you to join us in person as we will celebrate Yom Ha'atzmaut together, and I think it will be beautiful. So we look forward to having everyone here at home at TVT. We'll now say Kiddush Le Yom HaShabbat. We're on page 122. וירא בבוקר יום השישי, ויחול השמיים בארץ וכל צבאם, ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שקבעת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. סבלי חבריי וחברותיי, ברוך אתה ה' אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו בשבת קודשו, באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית, יום תחילה למקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת עם כל העמים, בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. As we come to conclude our service, we invite you to visually connect with each other or to think of someone you love very much. As we learn that Shabbat is a time to acknowledge the creation, we think also of our creations. We think of the things that we have founded. We're talking about Yesod, we're talking about foundations. The things that we create in this world. The many treasures that we have brought into life. We think of loving relationships. And of course, we think of our children. We tell to them, Yasimchem Elohim, Kesara, Rivka, Rachel, Velea, Yasimchem Elohim, Kefraim, Bekemenashe. May God inspire you to be like the loving parents of Israel. Yivrechem Adonai Beish Merechem. May God bless you and protect you. Ya'er Adonai Panav Elechem Bichunekem. May God's light shine upon you and may God be gracious to you. Sa Adonai Panav Elechem. May you find within you God's presence always. And may God bless you with the wisdom to set yourself in motion, with chokhmah. May God bless you with binah, with understanding. And may God give you that, the ability to bring your emotion and your understandings together. The ability to transform your life experiences into knowledge. May God give you the skills to become a co-creator, to beautify your life, your surroundings, and the world. May God instill in you the power to cultivate well-being and to make your days count, to walk your walk. May God give you its most beautiful gift, the gift of wholeness, the gift of peace. V'yasem lecha shalom. May God give you peace. Adonai os le'amav iten, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, umevorach everyone.
Shalom Bal Yisrael Nasi Leolam. Shalom Bal Yisrael Nasi Leolam. Ki ata melech adon lechad hashalom. Ki ata
Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.